snips and snails and puppy dog tails, sugar and spice and everything nice. That's the way I prefer to think of us, not as a bunch of skeletons and organs and arteries and ligaments that bleed and leak and squirt and spurt and all those kind of things. And the reason I feel kind of polarized about this anatomy is probably goes back to my military training and first aid particularly, which was very realistic. Excellent, but very dramatic, showing us exactly what we needed in order to be prepared for anything that we might see on a battlefield. So I saw some really nasty simulation things. Fortunately, I didn't see any more than simulation, but it made me a little leery about anatomy in general. In fact, the training was so good, I even lost my lunch a couple of times during it. But which is surprising because my daughter, who I'm very proud of, was a kinesiology major. She studied all these, the skeletal system and muscles and all that goes together. And not only that, after she graduated, she had decided she was going to go on to graduate school in physical therapy. So before she did that, she asked me if I would take her to New York City to see an exhibit called Body Worlds. Now, if you hadn't heard of Body Worlds, this was all real human bodies, the good people who had donated their bodies to science so people could learn from them and understand what makes us tick inside. So if one of my Army buddies or good friends had asked me if I would like to go spend an afternoon with them seeing this Body Worlds exhibit, I would have said, "Are you nuts? You know, absolutely not." But my daughter asked me, so I said, you know, "Are you kidding? Of course I will. You know, I'd do anything for my daughter. You know, I'd help her with her professional development." And I thought, well, you know what? It might be good for me to get over my squeamishness as well. And I'd like to learn a few things about anatomy and what's going to be her chosen career field, so we could continue to have intelligent conversations, or maybe in this subject, so I could begin to have intelligent conversations. So anyway, we just pick a weekend and we drive up to New York City and park at the Port Authority and walk a few blocks up to 44th Street to this Discovery Center where Body Worlds is on display. So knowing my disposition about this, seeing all things anatomy, I've got some contingency plans made. So the first thing I notice is there's a deli right across the street. So I told my daughter, if I go through this a lot faster than you do, or I decide that it's just not for me, I'll be in the deli waiting for you if you get done, if we come through at different times. And I say, not only that, maybe we should go through separately, because I'm sure you're going to want to study these exhibits much longer than I will, knowing that this is your profession. So she agrees to all that, and we go in, and I've got one other contingency. I've very carefully folded a plastic grocery bag from my Giant, and I've got it stuck in my back pocket. And I was meticulous about this, like someone loading a parachute. And I thought about cowboys and their 6-shooters and how quick they can draw. So I've got the ends out, and I've actually practiced pulling this out and having it in the ready position, just like an air sickness bag, just in case I need it, and I'm almost sure I will. So we pay for our tickets, we go into the Discovery Center and come up to the very first exhibit, which is a human body, no skin, all skeleton, muscles, and all these types of things, and it's in a position like, I think it was actually a tennis player, in an athletic position. And so I look at it and I start to feel queasy already, the moisture in the back of your throat that you think you're gonna lose it again. And so I immediately see, though, that there's these written things on the wall. So I go over and I look at those. And I start reading, and I'm trying to recompose myself. In fact, I just started doing meditation, so I'm thinking about my meditation practices, breathe in, breathe out. Be in the moment, although this moment I really wanted to be in the exit moment from this place. So I continue to try to do these things, and I I'm really motivated, though. I really want to learn this stuff. So I read this as much as I can. I kind of glance over at the exhibit a little bit, and see how much I can take. And, I move from display case to display case. So I guess that's kind of my skeletons in the closet. These are skeletons in the display cases. But I kind of moved through the first exhibit hall, and I had read that it should take you 3 hours to go through all 5 exhibit halls where these different displays are. So, I make it through one, and I'm, pausing, reading, glancing at the actual exhibits, and then I make it through the next one, and, they actually get progressively more intrusive, where you can see more inside and part organs and parts and things. So, but I guess I actually it kind of worked for me because I was able to look at everything by the time we got to the end. And I looked at my watch and I saw it was 3 hours when I got to the end, which is what a normal person was supposed to do it in. So I was really pleased with myself. So I get out to at the very end, there's a gift shop, souvenir type of place like there typically is at the end of a museum. And I look, and my daughter is already there. And I look at her and I say, "Hey, Amy, did you like it? Did you learn things from this?" And she says, "Yeah, it was great." She said, "I didn't read much because I already knew most of the things from studying kinesiology, but I really looked at all the exhibits very carefully to kind of try to internalize them." So she did it exactly the opposite way I did. But anyway, thought this was a great day. I got through this thing. I didn't embarrass my daughter or myself. I was ready to go have a good meal, and I knew I could keep it down, and I knew exactly where it was going. But I still preferred to think of myself as snips and snails and puppy dog tails. Thank you.